is in the studio with me today. And wow, you guys, please, without further ado, the amazing Gwen Stefani. Hey, girl.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I was going to say thanks for having me, but thank you for being here.
You know what's crazy about you is that I feel like I've known you through other people like for a long time, and everyone that loves you literally loves you like their heart cracks with love for you. You know what I mean? Then the certain times that I've hung out with you, it's always so deep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every time it's like something really deep, but you're a deep girl.
So are you, Gwen. Like,
well,
that's why you can feel that I'm deep, because you're deep. And, you know, when we get in, it seems like we're always about to get into it.
I know.
And then someone says, it's like, it's time for you to go, or it's time for me to go. And like, you know.
True.
This is good. You know, the people that are listening to this show, they really want to be inspired by you and encouraged and uplifted. And, you know, you have the people that, you know, want to hate too, but we don't care about those. We care about the ones that you want to touch, you know, that we should touch, and, you know, through our own stories and things like that, and just inspiration. And I want to just start by asking you, how did you manage to survive in a group full of men? I mean, how did that go as a female in an all-male group? How did that go?
When I think back to that, because it's a theme in my life, like it just keeps happening. And I was not that person as a child. Like I was the most girly Barbies, like Holly Hobby Oven, like makeup, not a tomboy. But I did have brothers, you know, and I was really close with them. My older brother actually started the band. So he was the musical guy. And during high school, we were so close. Like we did everything together. And that's just how it started. I just kind of was very passive when I was younger. I never thought like about dreaming about being anything or making it or touching people or anything like that. I just was like, okay, my brother, I'm gonna sing. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even sing. Like I couldn't even, you know, it wasn't like, oh my God, I love singing. Nothing. It just happened. But I don't know. I think that I just loved music, and I loved being around them making music, and it just kept going and going and going. We just got so lucky from the very beginning, I think. So it was a procrastination from everything. We were all going to school. We all had backup plans. We were never thinking we were going to make it. It was always for the love of music and like what we love to do. Right. You know what I'm saying?
I can tell because you guys have a lot of reggae influence, and I was always wondering, where did that come from?
Okay,
how?
I can tell you, because it is weird, because coming from Anaheim, it's not like a huge like, you know, if anything, there was like, it's a real Latino like place to grow up. And I think that because we discovered this music called ska, which is like a kind of has that reggae undertone thing. So when we discovered ska music, which was basically a movement that happened in the 70s where it was like kind of black and whites coming together, like unity, like it was all about unity. And we were kind of like, I want to say third generation, like when we discovered it, you know, and it was just this weird, hyper upbeat, like punk rock, like attitude music.
Right.
And so that actually turned me on to reggae music as well. And also the lead singer in my band, who actually died when he was 18, we were only in the band together for a year. He was the one that was like, okay, I'm starting to grow dreadlocks, you know? And he's like, he turned me on to like all this reggae music that I'd never heard of before. So it was like a coincidence, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, your story, because you said you never really had any interest in being a singer and all of that. And maybe it wasn't about you being a singer. It was about you being an inspiration or just being a voice, period, because you really inspired a lot of women to be strong as well. Just from, I mean, women love you, Gwen. You're soft and you're hard.
But that's what's so crazy is because I never, ever would ever think that I could have any impact on people. You know what I mean? If you knew me back then, like you would see my biggest passion was like being so into my boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really, I was like going to school, but I knew I wasn't really good at school. But I was living at my parents' house till I was like 25.
Right.
The music was just always there. And I think the real power, like the real thing that happened to me was when I was able to write my first song.
Wow.
And that's when it was like, okay, something is channeling. Like, how did that happen to me? How did I do that? Like, nobody taught me how to do it. It just came out. And I was like, that's crazy. And the more people that I showed them to, like my dad, I showed my dad the song. He's like, oh, you got to keep doing this. This is like really good. I played it for some people at work and they thought it was really good. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And actually the first song I ever wrote was called Different People, which is a song about unity and people coming together. And it ended up on Obama's list of like top songs, which is so crazy because that's like the first. And when you listen to it, I'm embarrassed. Like I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, that song, that's the first song I ever wrote, you know? But it touched him. It's
Wow.
just what makes me feel alive.
Songwriting, music is the biggest form of communication. You've been communicating to people forever, and you got to the president. You got
That's
to his
crazy.
ear.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I have to say that Michelle Obama picked my song "Doubt" for number 3 for her list.
That's so crazy.
So, and just like you, I didn't know I would ever inspire women and touch women the way I do. I had no idea. I didn't know I was going to be doing all of this stuff. You know, I knew I wanted to sing. I knew as a little girl, oh, I want to sing.
Well, I mean, with a voice like yours, you probably were like, what's happening? I can do all this stuff with my voice, you know?
Yeah, but I had no idea that I would touch or inspire anyone in anything, because I never felt great about myself or about my life or about my education or about, you know, the way I spoke. I never thought I would be doing a radio show. So the point I'm trying to make is that you just never know.
You don't know it's around the corner.
What your gifts are, you know? And speaking of gifts, I mean, Gwen, you're a superwoman. How do you find time to manage an empire that includes music, fashion, television, and being a mom? Like, where does all this strength come from?
Again, it's one of those things. It's like an evolution, like a slow evolution of me. It was starting from, you know, songwriting and having my heart broken, basically.
True.
Once my heart was broken, then
You could write a book of
that's when
songs.
I started writing songs. And once I started writing songs, I started having power. Once I started having power, I started feeling kind of good about it. You know what I mean? And then I was like so naive, like my family and everybody, like it was such a small, like a really tight family, but very protected the way they brought us up, you know? And my mom and her mom, they all sewed. And so like every single holiday we would go to the fabric store and we would pick out a pattern, and I would get to be part of like this creative process of making clothes.
Wow.
And my mom's mom did that for her, and her mom's mom. So it's like, it was in our family. So I think that I just always loved that creative process of design. And I was always, like I said, like a real girly girl. So I was always really into like anything that was sparkly. And my mom was quite like, I feel like tasteful from the 60s, you know what I mean? Simple. And I was like, ooh, that's sparkly. And that's, you know, I liked anything gaudy and like, so I think it just started from that. And I always loved getting dressed up. If nobody was looking, I would still do it.
Can I say something? You're a fashion game. And when I heard that you and Andrea Lieberman had teamed up, I was screaming, because she's like one of the best stylists who have ever done it. One of them.
Yeah.
You know, you've been a fashion icon from your videos to, and so to see you guys team up was crazy to me. And every time, you know, I tune into The Voice just to see what you're wearing.
That's so funny.
Let me see what Gwen can inspire me with today. You're an inspiration, Gwen. You know, you need to be my stylist at some point.
I've always loved it. And I look back at the stuff and I always was doing the same thing. Like I would come back from school, I would go to the fabric store. I'd find like these weird like outlet fabric stores, and I would just dig through for hours and just go home and start making stuff, like sewing stuff, you know?
Right.
But I did all that stuff and I had nobody. Like I was in that band and we were already, you know, #1 around the world on tour for 2.5 years. I never had a stylist, a makeup artist, an assistant, nothing. I had to drive that van. Like it was like the real deal.
Right.
And when I met Andrea was the first time I ever really worked with a stylist. Like, and I remember I called her and we were going to do the Eve video, which was a huge deal.
That's crazy, because I was just getting ready I was going to talk about how you became the homegirl when we saw you in the video with Eve with the pink hair. And we were like, okay, all right, she's officially a homegirl now.
That's so crazy, because I just got so lucky because of Jimmy. And Jimmy was like, Dre, you should put Gwen on. You know, I don't even know how it all went down, but I'm sure that Jimmy was like, hey, Dre. I don't think it was Dre going, ooh, I think Gwen Stefani would be great for this. I'm sure it wasn't. And I just got the call and I went in and I recorded Blow Your Mind. And I went down and I was like, wow, this girl's so cool. Like, she was so East Coast, and like, I didn't know she was like a Jewish, like white girl from, you know what I mean? She just didn't sound like her voice when I met her.
Right.
And I told her all my ideas and she just took it to a whole nother place.
Yeah.
And she comes from New York and she comes from like a real fashion background where I don't know, like I didn't know anything about fashion. Like I didn't even get fashion magazines because I was like, ooh, those aren't real. Those girls aren't real. Like you can't get those clothes, you know?
Andrea gave me my whole, like, she styled like some of my first videos, my first album covers.
Wow.
And she gave me
loves you.
the sophistication ghetto swag.
Yeah. She knows how to mix it. That's what's so good about her.
Oh, she killed it, man. In this video, we were looking at you guys like, okay, who did this? both of you guys, y'all just blew our minds.
Yeah, that was a huge turning point for me, because to be able to work outside of my world of No Doubt and like collaborate with Eve and just again talk about another really talented woman, like to watch her sit there and write those. I watched her write those lyrics like right in front of my face.
Shout out to
like,
Eve. We miss you, Eve.
Yeah, I know, she's so good.
Love you. Yes, I miss Eve. Yeah, I mean, come on, let's rock out to this real quick.
I know. On the radio the other day, I was like, God, and the lyrics are so good.
Yes. The motorcycle, the whole, and the way you was sitting there. Shit, you're like, oh, she's officially a homegirl. Yes. Yes.
I just lucked out. I was so lucky.
So what are you up to now? I know you're working on an album, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, doing the voice was like a really inspiring thing to write new music, because I was going through a drought. Like I had like about a 5-year period where I wrote a record, but it was like, when you're writing and it just isn't channeling and flowing and it doesn't feel honest and it doesn't, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the No Doubt record that I'm proud of it, I think I'm proud of it because it was such a difficult time in my life. I literally would wake up, take the kids to school, drive to Santa Monica, get in the studio, work for a few hours, pick the kids up, make dinner. Like Gavin was always on tour. Like it was the craziest few years of my life. You talk about like trying to do all of it, like have the kids and the, doing the music still and the fashion. And it was just a really hard time, but I don't know what happened, but I do know what happened. I just feel like I found a channel again to open up. And so I've been writing, and it's just been the most incredible experience of my life. Honestly, every time I've gone in the studio, I started writing, I think in August, I think. And it was like, every single time I went in the studio, I wrote a song, which I know is not a big deal for a lot of writers, but for me, that is huge. And some days I would write too. And it's just so I have that whole record, but I feel like I still want to write some more now that I kind of stepped away from it. I want to go back in and like see what, if the channel's still open, I'm like, please, because it was the greatest feeling,
Right. Well, when you find your strength, like your real strength as a woman, we find that through trial. And it's so unfortunate we find that through trial. And when you find that strength, it's like nothing can get in your way. You can write 50 songs. You can do 50 movies. You can literally do anything you need to do, because you feel for so long you've been holding yourself back and depriving yourself of all your gifts. So that's basically where you are right now. I mean, so what the album, the title, you come up with a title for it yet?
I have one in mind, but I want it to be something about truth, because I feel like when I went in the studio the first day, I didn't even know the people that I was going to be working with. I didn't even know who they were, because I was my life had been like, I was like crazy, like blown up in my face. And so I went to the studio, and the record company put me in with these guys, and I was like, oh, here I go. I'm going to go down there and like people I don't know, and they're going to want me to like be great. And I don't even know, but I was determined. I was like, I don't care. Like, and I walked in and I said, I don't really know who you guys are, but I just don't care about anything. I just want this to be real and honest and truthful. And I don't care about hits. I don't care about anything but getting this out. Like I have to do this right now. And so that was the start of it. And the first song we wrote was a song called Red Flags. And once that happened, it was like, I remember because I wrote it and I was like, oh my God. Because when you write a song that's important. Do you know what I mean? It's like, after all this time, I've been doing this for a long time. And when it just says everything that you need to say, and then it speaks back to you. And you're like, wow, I didn't even know I was saying that. And then you just start crying, and you just start listening to it like 10 billion times in a row, and you want to play it for everyone. And that's kind of what happened. You know what I mean? I'm not even saying it's a hit. I'm just saying it's important.
It doesn't have to be, because the My Life album for me, every time I listen to that album, it speaks back to me even now. It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. It ministers to me and helps me even now. It's crazy.
Honestly, I know what you're talking about too, because even during this last year, I went out and did some No Doubt concerts. And, when your life makes a big switch and a big change and like your eyes are opened, like for the first time probably ever. Oh, yeah. I hear that music in a different way. Like I look back at some of the songs from like 20 years ago and go, wow. That could have been written yesterday, idiot. You should have made some changes a long time ago. But it's so funny because even like the solo songs, I just did a concert a few months ago and I hadn't done those, and they just all take on new meaning. It's crazy.
Yes.
Music is so powerful. Writing, like, I just feel like I've always been like, it always is such a hard thing to do. Like, I guess because it's so sacred. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That, like, if you go in, you always write a song.
It's like this. Once you commit, you commit. So when I go in, I don't always write the best song. I might get even writer's block. So it's about committing for me. So if I commit to write this song, it's just going to flow out of me. But if I don't commit, I'm going to be stuck. If I'm thinking about it, well, maybe I shouldn't, But if I go head on straight out, this is what it is, I could come out of there with probably 2 songs, 3 songs.
Yeah, I feel like you just have to have that little seed of an idea of what is the intention and what you're feeling. And that's why I've never been like a creative writer. I've never been able to like make up a song about something else or somebody else's life, or you know what I mean? Like, I've always had to take it from something that was really deep or real, even if it's something silly, you know, but it has to be, you know,
it has to be
something real.
It has to be real. And if it's not real, it's going to translate to people. Because if it's not real to you, it's not going to be real to them. That's why I say once you have to commit to the truth, your truth. And sometimes now, if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
But that's what happened to me. But that's exactly what blew my mind, if we want to use that word again, those words again. It was like when I wrote the song that actually came out, Used to Love You, it was interesting. Like, if you are super honest and direct, and it's like how other people pick up on that truth. Oh, that's what's crazy.
Yes, and all my records, like my fan base and I, when we started on the My Life album, what's the 411 album? That was fun. That was, hood girl, fresh off the block, writing songs, still, troubled. But when I began to speak from my real troubles on the My Life album in 1994, that's when the fans came out and the people were like, me too. How does she know? How is she writing about my life? I'm not writing about your life. I'm writing about my life. And from that point on, each and every album has been, a connection. And I had to speak now. Now I have to speak. And I can't make things up. So it could be you sit and we have a conversation. If it's real, it's a real story. So it can be about you as well, but it will connect to someone. It doesn't necessarily have to always be about you. It just has to be real. You understand what I'm saying?
I totally do. And, I like being on the show, like being on The Voice was a really, I think, good exercise in listening to songs and like watching people that didn't write the songs interpret the songs, but trying to give the intention of what they meant. And like, I think all of that, like doing that again, and I'm not again, because I've never done that before, but it really helped me too with my writing, because it made me so aware of like what I've done in the past and like the intentions of song and just how everybody interprets things so differently, but yet the bottom line is everybody kind of has whatever the intention is, they feel it if it's real and honest. You know what I mean? Like it's a feeling that people have. It's so incredible to me. Like it really is it's such a gift, music, and to be part of it as a songwriter and to be able to share that. And then like, especially if you're going through something that's hard in your life and you just are like, here, this is what's happening.
Yeah, just
like,
let it rip. Let it rip.
You literally get I've gotten so much love back. It's mind blowing to me.
Performance on American Music
American
Awards.
Music Awards, yeah.
It was very, 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 very touching.
I felt like I literally
gave me goosebumps. I was like, let me call.
I was like, okay, I'm going to get naked right now and I'm going to tell everyone what just happened to me. That's what it felt like. I was like, it was so, and I got off the stage and I didn't realize it was going to feel like that, but I got off and it almost felt like I was going to shake off the stage when I was on the stage, because it wasn't nerves as much as it was like, oh my God, this is happening right now. Like, because I hadn't really had a new song out that was that deep in a long time, and going through everything I'd gone through, it's just crazy. And then I came off stage. I literally think I was like literally sobbing backstage. I'm like, oh my God, I'm at the award show. Calm down. What are you doing?
Right.
But it was like a release of feelings.
And I felt that. When I watched you perform, I was like, wow, she's getting it out. I mean, I can see it.
No, I know you can.
You were getting it out. And I was like, yes, get it out, get away from it.
But even and like you're crazy, because I knew that when I saw you at Jimmy's party that day at the beach. And I was like, you got to tell me your story, because I had a feeling like you were going to say something about your faith that was going to help me, you know? And that day I wanted to connect with you because I knew.
Yeah, but we couldn't finish because it was a party.
I know.
And everyone was all over us and you had to go. And I really wanted to connect with you because, can I just say, I was so concerned. I was so concerned because you had this look of, what is it? And I wanted to give it to you, but I couldn't because you
did,
were gone.
though. But
I gave you as much as I could.
But I feel like it was like enough to point me in another direction. Like somebody else that does that had done that for me through my life, but really like recently is Pharrell. And he was there that day as well.
Yeah,
and
he's good with that.
He's
He'll minister you under a chair. You'll be like, okay, let me get my life together.
I know.
Because Minister Pharrell has come through and said, they better get out of your way.
He was one of the first ones. He was like, Gwen Stefani, that way. I was like, okay, okay, you're onto something. I'm going to listen to you. He's an amazing guy.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You now, because when I saw you then, you look completely different. Now you have this look of strength and optimism. I don't want to talk about it because I was very concerned, but right now I'm not concerned. And I just want to ask Gwen, are you happy right now?
I think I might be the happiest I've ever been. It's like, it's so weird how you could I had a year that was so full of horror, you know what I mean? Like the worst, but at the same time, like the greatest stuff as well. Like just to be able to express myself through music again, like that was, to me, I prayed for that for like 3 years. I prayed that I would be able to use my gift again, and to watch that happen. Like, I mean, it was just so incredible to me. I just feel so lucky because I know that I've done enough music in my life to know that that's what really fulfills me, like it's so fulfilling. And so I just feel so honored to be able to have that moment again.
I'm so happy for you. You got me about to tear up over here. Because I know you and I saw you that day at Jimmy's house, and to see you at Jimmy's house and to see you like, hey girl, yeah. I was like, yeah.
Oh, the other day. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, yes, whatever that is out of there. And and then to see you on the show.
Well, I had just been in the studio. That's what I'm talking about. Like I had just written
Right. You told me you wrote a song called You're Happy, but you was sad, but you're not. Like,
oh, no, I know what I said.
Anyway.
I know you. I know what I said to you. That was so funny. That was going to be the title of the record. I was sad. Now I'm not.
I was like, is she serious? Okay, we gotta go with this. With that being said, we all tripped on this amazing record called Holla Back Girl. I mean, or did we trip on it because it's a Pharrell produced record with Gwen, homegirl?
God. Beat just alone. I mean
Pharrell
how many people copy that after that? Like
Pharrell is a genius.
Yeah, he's literally a genius. And sometimes it's like you're with him and you can't even like understand what he's talking about because he's on another planet. And you're like, I'm trying real hard right now.
Yeah, but when you can get with him, it's a lot for you to go home with and start a whole new everything with.
Yeah, I mean, this day that we wrote this song, we both knew it was magic. I think we were doing like the Tom Cruise. We were like on the couch. We called Jimmy. We were like, bring down the crystal. We've done it. And it was so weird too because I think everybody was scared because they didn't even put this out till third, right? I think it was like the third single. And
it was the biggest one, right?
It's so funny how that happens.
It's the one you sleep on.
Yeah.
But how could y'all sleep on this one?
I don't know. It's so obvious. But at the time, I guess everyone was scared. But I just know that, again, like, it just took me tapping into one thing with him. Like, I was like, I had an intention. Like, I had somebody that really pissed me off, And I was like, I just was like, I got to get this out right now. And I told him what I wanted. And he goes, oh, I have this one beat. And he goes into that little tiny like keyboard like this big and he goes and he does this beat and I said, what are you doing? Like you have that beat sitting there? What are you talking about? And then this is kind of how I remember it. And then it just happened like in minutes. When that happens? And it's just so quick. But magic. Then he always would do this thing to me because he's so cool and I'm not. And I said, no,
Gwen, you are cool.
No, like imagine me like, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but like I'm in there and then he'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go take off for a little while. I'll be back. And I'm like, okay. He goes, you just write it. I'll be right back. You know, like, and then he'll just leave me there to like fill in all the blanks. And it takes me a while, you know, that part of it. Like, then I would get stuck, and then he'll come in and he'll have like one thing here, one thing there. And then we have a song, and it's just so crazy. And
it's a monster smash.
It's so fun, the whole process. I love that.
All right, so who inspires you, Gwen?
Gosh, I have like my mom, she inspires me, my dad, my parents I'm really close with my parents. I have really unique parents. You know, they fell in love in Anaheim when they were like 15. And I know that they made me believe, and I believe them, that they just, all they cared about was each other and being in love and having a family and trying to make that family the way they wanted it to be. You know what I mean? Like, and give us like that foundation, and just, you know, they're just so cool. And like, so I feel so inspired by that, like their love and like their devotion to us, because there's 4 of us. So I think I'm really inspired by them. I'm inspired by, you know, I'm just inspired by music. I saw Missy Elliott and Pharrell do a performance the other day, and I was like, I said to Pharrell, I said, you know that if you make someone so jealous and mad when they watch a performance, that it's good, you know? I was like, how they do that? Like, God, they're so creative. I hate them.
Yeah, they're super creative.
Got me so mad. So I get inspired by that. Like, I get inspired by good creative stuff that's to the left, that's not trying to be anything popular, but by accident, you know, like by accident, you just trip on something that's just like, I was trying to do something that wouldn't be popular. You know what I mean? I get inspired by that.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's not the popular stuff. It's the stuff that people walk over. That's the big thing.
Yeah, the weird stuff.
Do you have any favorite reggae songs you want to probably put on right now?
I want to ask you if you ever heard of this artist, because sometimes I don't know what's cool and what's not cool. Because like, you know, when you get turned on to something when you're young, like I'm pretty sure it's super cheap. Like, what have you heard of Amazulu?
No, but I mean, my husband, he's a West Indian. He's a guy from Guyana, so he might know of all of those people.
I think she did like a lot of covers, but her voice, and she was this very, very pretty girl. Like, she was from England, and I always think about her because it was like kind of my first introduction to reggae, but with a woman. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, wow, like I love Still Pulse. Like, Still Pulse is one of my favorites. I love UB40. I love, obviously, Bob Marley. But I feel like if I had to choose one, it would be like Still Pulse, because those songs to me they're so pop, you know, like, and they're so catchy. And some of the lyrics are just so kind of goofy and out there. And his voice to me is like, it's just so rare and unique.
I have to go find that.
Like, Earth Crisis is one of my like favorite like records ever. And True Democracy, really good. And they just had a documentary that's coming out on them, and they were huge I feel like in the 80s, but they had tons of records. Weird, right? And look at that. I'm going to turn you on to a reggae group that you're going to actually...
But you are. Now I got to go see who these people are.
You're going to fall in love with. Watch.
And you know what? That sounds like some of the stuff you would No Doubt did.
It's crazy because I think I tried definitely to sound like him.
Yeah, it feels like that. The music even sounds like some of the No Doubt stuff.
It's quite like up and pop and like, you know, but his voice is just crazy.
I like this.
Okay.
So you had a job as a swimming instructor?
I had a few jobs, yeah.
But the swimming instructor?
I did, yeah. Why is that funny?
Because I need to see Gwen.
Have you seen me in my bathing suit? No.
I'm sure you're all the way Pamela. What is Pamela Anderson?
No, not even close. I feel like what happened was when I was a little girl, I was a little bit chunky and chubby. And I, like in 4th grade, like I remember my mom was like, okay, we're going to do soccer and we're going to do synchronized swimming and we're going to, you know, get you out there. And that was the beginning of the rest of your life trying to work this thing, you know what I mean? Like trying to keep it in line. And so when I got to 9th grade or no, like a sophomore or whatever, I was like, I'm going to be on the swim team. I'm doing it, you know what I mean? Like, and I just did it because I wanted to be like fit, and I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to be chunky. And so I went, and that's where it started. And I was actually a really good swimmer. like a really good swimmer, because I'm not really athletic and I don't really like sports, but that was like, you didn't have to be competitive in the way, it was like your own thing, you know?
Right.
And I think it really helped me a lot with my singing, because you have to like hold your breath forever, you know what I mean? Especially with synchronized swimming, which is actually one of the dorkiest things, but I think I got a lot of strength from that.
Let's talk about how much we love Jimmy Iovine. How much he is, that's how we're related.
Yeah.
Because he's like our dad.
Yeah.
And just how amazing he is and how he just picks the talent, and just the relationship you guys have is just so special. He just completely,
I can't believe
totally
I have
adores you. I mean, gosh, Gwen, he really adores you.
I don't understand that I could, in my, like, again, like my life blows me away, because to meet someone like him, like he's a real rare guy, you know what I mean? Like,
Very special.
really special. So the story goes is that I didn't really know much about like making records or being signed. I was such a naive person back in that time. And I was in my band for a long time, and the guys, we couldn't make a record or a demo because we didn't have the money. Like I would literally had to go, Dad, can I have $5 to rent a microphone so we could go to rehearsal? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And so they talked about it. They were like, oh, we're going to do a showcase. I was, what's that? You know, like they're going to come down and watch us, the record company, and then they might let us make a record. I was like, okay, that's how you make a record. Like, that's how dumb I was about, like, I didn't know anything about the industry or whatever. And Jimmy came down with Ted Field, and he had just started Interscope. He had Marky Mark, and he had this band called Primus. And I didn't know who he was at all. And we played in like a room with just like, it had lights and stuff. It was like a rehearsal room, like SIR, I think. And it was just them watching us. And we just did our thing, you know, because at that point, we were pretty good at what we did, you know. We didn't care. I didn't care because I didn't know who he was, you know what I mean? And he took me aside that day and he said, wow, you know, I think that like in 6 years, you're going to be a star. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like 6 years, first of all, I'm going to have like 10 kids by that point. I'm not going to be doing this anymore. And 6 years on the nose, Don't Speak was #1 around the whole world.
That's
like,
incredible.
I mean, like it was like 6 years, like the weirdest prediction I've ever had anyone make. This album, and Jimmy wasn't really involved in this part, but when I wrote Used to Love You, which was on the radio, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. Like, what women at my age get the chance to be on pop radio? It's a miracle.
Oh, let's talk about that. It's very hard, and it is a miracle, and you are very blessed to be on pop radio.
There's not 1 second that goes by that I don't know that, and I feel so honored. And I had written the whole record pretty much, and I was so proud, and I was like, don't you understand? Like, I'm channeling God right now. Like, this is a miracle what's happening to me.
Right.
So anyone that didn't get it, I was like, something's wrong with you. You know what I mean? And and I was so high on this record, and the record company was sort of like, and this is not Jimmy because he's not there anymore, but I was playing him on my songs as I was going. But they basically said, you know, we think your record's a little bit too personal. Like, people aren't going to relate to it. And, you know, we think that you should just put out an artistic album, not try to go for radio. And this is like a few months ago, FYI. So I was like, okay, well, that really took the wind out of me. Like, you just like punched me in the stomach. So anyways, the next day I went in and I wrote Used to Love You, and now it's on the radio. So sometimes you do need to be slapped around a little bit, you know? And Jimmy's kind of that guy as well.
You're channeling God. Like, it's only when you're honest. It's only when you're real and grateful that it goes
right
that
there.
far.
That's like the theme. Like, if you want to know what my New Year's resolution is to continue being grateful every minute for bad stuff, good stuff, everything. Because then you have peace, you know?
Yes, and that will be my first one. My first New Year's resolution is to
let's pinky promise on that.
Is to continue to be grateful, honest, and humble.
Yeah.
Because when that fame and, you know, when that new success comes, and it comes in a big, big deal, we have to continue to be humble.
But I feel like everything is so temporary. And so if to try to hold on to anything or assume anything is ridiculous. You know, it's interesting too, like working on The Voice. I know I keep going back to it because it's been so inspiring for me, and to watch, you know, new artists and young people. Like, you know, I've got to experience all the ups and downs, like all the different, it's like journey. And it's not about where you get to. It's always about the journey the entire time.
Where you are right now. Right now is the most important moment ever. So this is what you harness. This is what you cherish. Everything else will come. Gwen, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate your work. I appreciate your honesty.
I'm so
and
glad I came today. It's so fun.
Oh,
It's
good,
fun to talk
good,
to you because I feel
good.
like I wanted to come so many times and I just never could make it happen. And here we are.
Everybody, my friend Gwen Stefani, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
stopping
Mary.
by. You are beautiful. And I can't wait to hear the rest of your album. I wanted
know,
to
me
keep
too.
playing songs.
I know,
But
I
I
can't
Used to
wait.
Love You is dope.
Thank
And you have this
you.
twinkle in your eye of just happiness. So be happy, y'all. Let's end the show. Let's hit it. Be happy. Let's get it. Let's get it.